Swiss climber Sofya Yokoyama has been climbing since she was 8 years old, and she started competing as early as 11 years old. Recently, she's been a bouldering champion in Switzerland, and she's in the pool for Paris Olympics in 2024. You may have seen her on Eric Carlson's bouldering YouTube channel, and she's recently started her own channel, which is growing rapidly, and the videos are really fun. Recently, she released a video about her trying the Marines test, as well as one of her favorite ab workouts, which was really impressive. I reached out to Sofya because I love her energy and it's really fun to watch her climb, so I thought that you would enjoy hearing from her as well. We had an amazing chat that I really enjoyed, and I think you will too, so let's get into it.
I had to think quite a bit about that because I'm like, what is really considered a movement? Like, are toe hooks considered a movement? I would say, yeah.
I can see where you're coming from, but yeah, toe hooks are definitely a movement.
Because, yeah, I still am really bad at toe hooks, but I've been working on them quite a bit, and I actually really enjoy them. It's something that you need to really understand and focus on, and for now, I think, yeah, toe hooks are my favorite movement at the moment.
That's awesome. My favorite movement is heel hooks, and toe hooks are really difficult for me.
Yeah, toe hooks are terrible. I was really good at heel hooks, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop using heel hooks. Just use toe hooks all the time, and that does help.
Nice. That's awesome. So when you find a route when you're in a competition, do you usually try and work in a toe hook, or do you just try and stick with what you think the intended beta is?
No, I usually just try to stick with what the intended beta is. Usually if there's a toe hook, it's quite obvious. So that's when I use a toe hook, but otherwise, whatever the method is, I'll try the method, and if it doesn't work, maybe try to think of something else. Sometimes toe hook comes in handy, but sometimes it doesn't. Everything like slabs and coordination. Coordination it isn't necessarily hard, but it's just hard to understand what goes first, where you need to pull, push, center of gravity, and that's kind of the same thing with slabs. You really need to understand where you want to focus the power and all of that. And so, yeah, dynamic movements of slabs, it's not really a movement, but it's just something in general that are really hard to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on those too.
I actually read one of your blog posts from a couple years back. I don't know if you have any new ones. And you were talking about needing to train for slabs. So it's kind of funny that you're working on that. Yeah. Has there been any bell or any moment where you go, oh, I get this? Or is it just kind of a grueling thing that you keep working at?
There are some movements on slabs where I'm like, okay, I've got this now. But when you have like a foot which is a bit higher than the other one, you got to push up and stay close to the wall. I just don't understand how that works. Some people make it look so easy, and then you've got me where, yeah, I try everything and it just doesn't work. So. Yeah. A bit of both, I guess.
Well, a lot of people say it's core related, but you clearly have a really good core.
Well, core is really important, and you don't really realize it. People are like a core on slabs, but to stay close to the wall, you got to squeeze the core. And sometimes I do forget that, and so that's why my body like kind of falls backwards. So, I would tell them, focus on working on core on slabs, but also just do tons and tons and tons and tons of slabs. So I always try to do at least one day where I just rest. Nothing, no cardio or active recuperation. I just have one day where I'm just relaxing, studying if I have to, and that's usually the Sunday. And then usually throughout the week I'd climb 4 to 5 times, have some strength sessions in the gym, so which is just pure strength, like weighted pull-ups, dips, and then more strength sessions related to climbing, like campus boarding, hangboarding, core. sometimes on the wall, and then just some cardio here and there for active recuperation. I sometimes just like run long distance, chill. It's not really easy, but
Yeah.
but then otherwise some intervals, just like 30-30, just to get the heart going. During COVID, I bought a bike because we could go outside and do sports outside. So I'm like, okay, might try biking. And so I also do sometimes long distance on the bike, which is also fun, but nothing too specific.
Yeah. Is the area you're in, is it really hilly? Like, or is it mostly, yeah.
So you got the road on the lake, which is quite flat here and there. You've got some up and downs, but then you can just like have huge hills that you need to go up to be able to go back down and get back home. And I'm like, I hate the hills, but I do it sometimes.
Nice. We have some hills here that I avoid every time I get on the bike. So
yeah, detour is better than hills.
Yeah, legitimately though, I've gone out of my way, like a mile out of my way to avoid a hill. Well, like the really steep ones. Yeah.
I started competing when I lived in Singapore. And so it was just like very fun, easy stuff, but it went really well. And so when I got back to Switzerland, my mom's like, oh, do you want to continue climbing? I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? Tried some comps and just like completely got crushed. Like the level was so different. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to work harder on this. And it kind of got me motivated to work harder and do more comps. But yeah, at first it was just for fun with friends here and there, and it went well until I got back home.
So it was like the challenge.
Yeah, I would say challenge was a big part of it. It still is. Well, that's also something I'm working on because I suck at flashing. Unless it's a bit easy, but when it's a bit more technical and you got to think a bit more, flashing is really hard. So I'm trying to work on flashing more, but working on harder boulders is what I also prefer, because then it's really based on strength instead of flash.
Yeah.
But I enjoy both.
Okay. And there is sometimes a bigger payout, right? Where you like finally make it to the top.
Yeah. When you work days, and okay, not in comps, you can't work days, but
right.
When you're in the gym or outside, you're like, finally.
Yeah. I've heard sometimes after comps you can go and retry the climbs. Is that true? Have you done that? Like after the competition's done?
I don't think you can. Sometimes like the final boulders, they stay on the wall, so people just like quickly go touch the hold, see how it is, but they can't really climb. But during our Swiss Cups, sometimes the gyms leave the boulders on the wall. So like recently I went back to try the comp boulders because it went terribly, and just to see how it felt, and it was okay.
Did you get the climbs that you struggled with?
So, which makes me even more frustrated because I'm like, I could have made that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I probably would feel the same way.
I'm working with a sports psychologist at the moment. Just, it's the kind of basic trust in your capabilities and what you can do, and thinking more positively, because you can easily say, oh, that move is too far, and once that's in your head, you're like, you're not going to be giving 110% when you need to. You'll be like maybe at 80, 90, and so you'll never make it. And just working around that. And yeah, it's in climbing when I realized, okay, maybe it's not just all about strength, it's also about mental, and it is big time.
Yeah. Do you have like a mantra or something that you go through before you get on a route?
I usually write down sentences on a piece of paper that I read, Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I read it. Do I perform better? Debatable. But yeah, sometimes I usually have papers that I with my objectives written down and just like try to focus on them. Yeah, I feel like writing down everything helps tons. Where you can't make a boulder, write down what you think went wrong, what maybe you should work on, and just that already written down will help you visualize better and see what you actually need to do to get better on that boulder. And I think that does help tons. Don't compare yourself to others, because climbing is a very friendly sport, but a lot of people compare themselves to others, if it's physically, mentally, how hard they can climb, and who really cares what others can do? Just like focus on yourself, focus on what you enjoy doing, what you're working on, and progress in your own way. And yeah, just have fun. I was told also to focus on myself and like who really cares about what people think, because there's always going to be someone who's not going to think the same thing or who's going to criticize. And so yeah, I would say that advice that I've just given was, I really like the climbing community. It's very open and fun and different to other sports. And so, yeah, as a kid, so my parents were like, either you do a sport or play an instrument, but you've got to be doing something on top of studies because we just don't want you at home all the time. But so I started off with like tennis. I also tried taekwondo, field hockey, an electric guitar. That isn't a sport, but for music, I tried to learn how to play on an electric guitar until I got into climbing, and that just stayed.
Yeah, that's so cool. Do you still have your electric guitar?
Yeah, it's still somewhere in the attic.
It's in the attic, so you're not using it.
No. I've forgotten completely what I learned back then.
Yeah. Well, and those are fun sports too. Tennis is super mental as well. I have two brothers that play tennis, and it's a fun sport to watch. Screaming seems similarities.
Yeah.
Do you scream on the wall at all? I haven't seen that.
No. Sometimes you'll hear like a little grunt, like when you're squeezing hard, it's just like, ugh, but it's not going to be like Adam Ondra style. The whole world will hear you. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love that. Sometimes, so with the breathing, the grunting thing, is that intentional? Do you like intentionally do that to help get through a move?
No. So the grunt comes out by itself, but the breathing is intentional. But like, sometimes I'm just breathing so hard and it just comes out.
Yeah.
Which probably is what happens to Adam Ondra, but instead of a little grunt, it's just like a scream. But no, it's definitely not on purpose, because otherwise I try to stay silent. Focusing on breathing whilst climbing, I feel like helps tons, especially before a hard movement and after the hard movement. So you're just preparing yourself for something hard thanks to breathing, and then when you've done it, if you make it, well, you're just letting it all out and preparing yourself for the next moves.
Is there like a pause, like, okay, I'm going to breathe out twice before I go through this?
Sometimes on the mat, I'm like, okay, two deep breaths, and then you could go.
Yeah.
But usually on the wall, it's just, sometimes I don't even think about it, so I'm trying to get it to come naturally. But sometimes, I need to remind myself, breathe.
Yeah.
Whilst climbing.
I have some friends that will sometimes yell at me, just breathe.
Yeah. You could tell when you're not breathing, because like nothing's moving in the back, and you're like, breathe.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes good too. So then like, oh, gotta breathe.
Yeah. It gives you, it like kind of snaps you back into the moment for a second.
Yeah. Really enjoy lead. I do a lot less than bouldering, but I feel like lead helps a lot with my bouldering climbing. For one, I don't get pumped when I'm doing lead, but usually if I just like focus on bouldering, I don't enjoy doing 4x4s on boulders. So I just turn to lead to kind of like work on that aspect of bouldering. And speed I used to train when I was focusing on the combined and the 2020 Olympics and all of that. But I don't do much of it now.
Yeah. I know.
But it's very explosive, so that also will help in bouldering.
I tried it once, speed climbing, and it is, I mean, someone said that it was a 511A. And I was like, okay, if a 511A is a dyno every single move.
Practically. I feel like it's also harder if you don't go fast.
Yeah, that was something I struggled with.
Yeah, I just like tried doing it normally just to warm up, and I'm like, whoa, these moves are actually super far. So I just speed it all the time.
Yeah. But I love using lead instead of 4x4s. That is, I'm loving that.
Yeah, I hate 4x4s for some reason, even though it's technically kind of the same thing as lead, but I just enjoy lead more. There's more of this like pushing aspect and getting yourself to the very last movement and giving it all in one go. In bouldering, I do enjoy, I don't really know how you would say it in English, but like themed boulders, where you just have like a spray wall, you invent yourself a boulder and you do like exercises in them. So you can do lock-offs, climb with one leg and stuff like that. So those exercises in bouldering I really enjoy. And then for lead, I enjoy even doing 4x4s in lead more than in bouldering for some reason. But lead, I just usually try to get as much endurance as I can and then just work on hard stuff.
That's awesome.
Which I find fun.
That's really fun. One leg is a game, I would say, when I'm introducing people to climbing. I'm like, and they feel like they can't do anything but be zeros. It's like, okay, let's try this with one leg.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun. It's super challenging.
Oh yeah, for sure. But then they actually realize, oh, it's not actually too bad.
It's like, oh, I can do this with one leg. I could probably do the next grade.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really fun. Awesome.
Word. Oh, I forgot. I've got it in French. You trust yourself better, and you have more. You think you can do harder and stuff.
Yeah. Confidence. Is it confidence?
There we go. Yes. I had confiance. And it's practically the same word, confidence. There you go. I do sometimes work in a climbing gym here and there to give classes and replace teachers who are sick or something. It is to get a bit of money on top of what I have, but I have some sponsors that give also some money, so
okay,
I'm quite happy with that. I don't really need to worry financially for now.
That's awesome. I'm sure that helps you focus a lot more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, in Switzerland, this is the problem, is that we speak 4 languages. Well, Switzerland in general speaks 4 languages, mostly 3. One of them isn't really spoken anymore, and that's French, German, and Italian. So at school, you have to learn German up to a certain age, and then you can choose if you want to learn Italian or not at a certain age. So I speak a bit of German. I understand it more than I speak, but I'm also trying to learn Russian.
Oh wow.
So that's kind of it.
That's awesome. Any particular reason for Russian?
My dad's Russian. Well, my grandparents are Russian, and so my grandma spoke Russian to him, and so he speaks Russian, but he never spoke Russian to me as a kid. So I have to unfortunately learn it now.
Yeah, things seem to be harder as an adult.
Oh, yeah. It takes so much more time. I'm at university now at the moment. So I'm in my second year, and depending on if I split my years or not, I'll either end next year or the year after.
Okay.
So I've got to figure that out.
Are you figuring, do you know what you plan on doing? Like, is this for post climbing or is it just for degree?
Well, I'm studying forensic sciences, and it will probably be post climbing. So like something I gotta plan out my years after the climbing career. So this is something that is interesting and might be something I do in the future, but for now it's just interesting.
That's really interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Well,
full on CSI.
yeah. I was actually thinking of that in my mind, or NCIS, or
yeah.
Because
one of the reasons why I got into it.
Is it really? Oh my goodness. I just barely started rewatching it from season 1. So.
Oh, I would just usually watch it when it comes on the TV, so it'd be like random episodes. But yeah, since they never follow up, you can watch whenever. But yeah, I love CSI.
That's awesome. That's way fun. That sounds like that's a pretty cool degree too. That's yeah. That's
very
really
interesting. Follow me on Instagram. It's just Sofya_Yokoyama, and YouTube, just look for Sofya Yokoyama.
Yay! And I'm excited to keep seeing your videos, so please keep coming out with them.
I'm excited to post.
Awesome. It's a good insight into your life, into your climbing life.
Yeah, I thought it was also like a different aspect to Instagram, because Instagram you can kind of interact, but like a 20-minute video, you can't post that really on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, well, why not try YouTube just to kind of like interact more and show more? And yeah, so I'm trying it out.
Yay. It's really fun to watch you climbing, so thank you. Awesome. As you can see, Sofya is fantastic, and I'm excited to see her in the competition season this year, as well as my hopes and crossing my fingers, the Olympics in 2024. Thank you, Sofya, for taking the time to talk to me. It was really insightful and I enjoyed every moment of it. Be sure to check out Sofya's YouTube channel, which I'll definitely link in the description below,